I finally had to check and see what's going on. So I was trying to get to bed. And at some point, folks, you just have to say, I'm done. I'm done checking the phone. I'm done checking the computer, because you could do this 24/7. And there are many nights my wife says, you are going to turn that red alert app off, aren't you? Yes, dear, I will do that. And you could literally do this job 24/7 because it just doesn't stop. But I thought, well, I just can't. I've got to see what's going on. So I got back up and started working, and I saw that a hospital had been struck and that Israel is using Iran was using against Israel sophisticated cluster bombs targeting civilians, including a ward for infants. Many injured. And so I had to text my friend Aaron, our reporter on the ground. Aaron, are you okay? In fact, some others that have my cell phone text me, is Aaron okay? And I text them back, yep, Aaron says he just came up out of the bomb shelter. So I have many, many people that either by email or voicemail or text are as involved in this as we are now, particularly when you start to appreciate someone like your friend Aaron. Everybody's concerned about Aaron, right? And we're concerned about all the people of Israel. Well, we just heard from the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. I was a little shocked. She says the decision on Iran will be made in the next 2 weeks. Are you shocked to hear that, folks? The next 2 weeks. Now, is that a ruse? I don't know. I am getting reports that more munitions, things needed for the Iron Dome, have landed in Israel from the United States of America. Appears as though right now we are continuing to play a role defensively, not offensively, as this debate plays out. I personally, again, hope Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel do it all on their own offensively. All the defensive stuff like munitions, radar, satellite, imagery, technology, or I should say intelligence, great. Let the U.S. do that. But I personally really want to see Israel do this on their own for many reasons. Prophetically, but also I just want Israel to get the credit that they deserve. Now, I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I don't know if the lack of a formal address by the President of the United States now, 7 days, is, shall I say, his delivery and style yesterday with the press when putting up the flagpoles, he seemed very irritated. He seemed very exhausted. And why would he not be? No one's criticizing that. He has the weight of the world on him. He seems to be being boxed in. Are the globalists boxing him in, by the way? The Fed chairman won't bring down interest rates. Now we're looking at the possibility of world war. MAGA is fighting with each other over this. And if we go to world war, it'll be kind of a George H. Bush moment. Read my lips, no new taxes kind of thing, right? Where, hey, people voted for you not to go to war. Why'd you get involved in that thing over there? So he's got the weight of the world on him politically and many other ways, national security wise. Question remains, are the globalists pushing him into a corner in order to make sure he loses the midterms and loses political clout? I don't know. I can only ask questions a lot of the times. I also have to ask the question, is he really not in charge of this war? Something tells me Benjamin Netanyahu is the one fully in charge of this war. President Trump can use words like, we now control the skies of Iran. And I'm like, what's this we stuff, Pedro? Huh? I thought we were not doing anything. We were watching. We were sitting out. Now all of a sudden, we? Wait a minute. Let's not take credit for what Israel's doing. We may be helping a little bit, But let's really realize who's taking the missiles, who's taking the hit, who has the casualties, who developed the Iron Dome, who's been preparing for 10 years, who carried out the grim beeper attack on the terrorist, who carried out this attack that they planned for 10 years, including flipping many of the Iranians and Persians onto their side, even within their own regime. In the regime of Iran, and Israel's flipped some of them. 10 years. I'm sorry, this isn't a we thing. This is an Israel thing. And I'm proud of Israel. And I want Israel to finish it. I want Israel to stand up and say, we are a strong nation. And we're not going to be bullied. We appreciate America and what America does for us. We're allies. We'll continue to be allies, I pray. In America, we should be thankful for what Israel's done for us in the area of technology, in the area of, obviously, of the Jewish people, giving us, through that line, Messiah. The phones we use today, the thumb drives, the medical equipment, they have been a blessing to the world, spiritually, for sure, too, right? Most of the writers of the Bible were Jewish, right? Of the New Testament, for sure, and the Old. A lot of the New Testament, obviously. All but what, maybe one book? And yes, I'll bless those who bless you. Means the Jewish nation, the people. Doesn't mean the government. Sorry, Ted Cruz, you got that one wrong, but you tried. You got to get an A for an effort. But America, we can say, you know what? We helped our ally. We assisted our ally. Well, let's not take more credit than we deserve. Let's not take more credit than we deserve. And I have to wonder, and this is just speculation on my part. I could be 100% wrong. But watching the president's body language yesterday and his snapping at people the way he was, the reporters, and I'm not saying that those reporters don't deserve to be snapped at. But yesterday, he seemed to be a little bit more edgy than normal. And he certainly looked very, very exhausted. And I fully get that, why he would look exhausted. God bless him, the poor guy. We need to pray for him. But all of this and the lack of a formal, official presidential address after 7 days, and the conflicting information, and now we'll decide the Iran thing in 2 weeks comes out today, I'm starting to think this isn't a we thing. Yes, I think Prime Minister Netanyahu has said, President Trump, we appreciate you and your country, and we're happy to have your help. We need your help. We need some resupplies here. And I see pictures today. It looks like we have landed and unloaded lots of supplies for the Iron Dome. And Mr. President, we're so thankful for you and that assistance. But when it comes to other things on an offensive matter, we got this. Is that what's been said? I don't know. I'm not in those meetings. But I have to really wonder if Prime Minister Netanyahu hasn't told the President of the United States, we want this help, please. Oh, thank you so much. But no, we don't need any more than that right now. We got this. I don't know. Again, was Benjamin Netanyahu a little put off when he was handed the Art of the Deal book and marched out of the White House and put into an SUV? Did he find that maybe to be a little condescending? I don't know. Maybe that's when the relationship changed a little bit. He's like, you know what, guys? I can see what he said. You know what he said when he got in the SUV? He gave me his book, The Art of the Deal. Do you know how long I've been doing this? When he was building skyscrapers, do you know what I was doing? I mean, isn't this guy a seasoned warrior? And he wants to give me this book? I can see him throwing it in the floorboard of the SUV, saying, guys, we'll take whatever help they want to give us. We're going to be kind. We're going to be gracious. But Israel's going to take care of this. I'm just spitballing here. But that's what I would do if I had Netanyahu's personality. I'm like, really? And maybe he got his guys together and he said, Israel's going to take care of this, and we're going to show the world. Remember me when Biden was in the White House and I got angry and got up on my soapbox twice before October 7th and said, Benjamin Netanyahu, you need to take care of your country and stop kissing the ring of America, of Biden, and you do what's in the best interest of Israel. Remember that? And I'm not sure you're paying as much attention to your national security as you should. Remember me saying that? And then October 7th happened. Something in my gut said he's being too much of a politician. Well, I think the politician part of him has basically been greatly decreased. And what you have now is a commander-in-chief, to use an American phrase when it comes to Netanyahu. I don't see a politician right now. I see a warrior. And this warrior isn't interested in being on anybody's leash. And everybody that thinks that Israel runs America, I'm sorry. Does Israel have a lobby here? Yeah, but they're not the only one. There are a lot of countries that have lobbies here, from Arab nations and other nations. Oh, yeah, they're all here lobbying. And we lobby over there. You know what I mean? You know how many of our military industrial complex people are probably over there trying to sell Israel stuff? And they do buy a lot of stuff from us. And then I think they rip the avionics out and put in their jets. But this talk that Israel has got all the Congress blackmailed. Well, here's a question. What are you doing that you could be blackmailed? Who are you sleeping with? Are you doing something perverted? But this idea that somehow Israel's got the whole Congress blackmail is running the table. I don't think Benjamin Netanyahu is on Trump's leash, and I don't think President Trump is on Netanyahu's leash. I think you got two strong personalities doing and wanting to do what's in the best interest of both their countries. Now, I do think President Trump, like many presidents, would like to be an historical figure. And maybe Hadia is right when she was on my show over the weekend saying, I think President Trump would like to win the Nobel Peace Prize. I think he'd probably like to do that. That seems very much like Donald Trump, doesn't it? And maybe he wants to go down in history like Clinton and Obama and Carter and so many other presidents have tried. We're all human. Everybody's got some ego. Most politicians have bigger ones. I mean, really, what someone said recently, to want to be president, you've either got to be a raging egomaniac or crazy, right? But it takes that kind of personality to want to deal with these kind of things, right? So a lot of times those guys really like to go for awards and recognition and, of course, legacy, particularly in your second term. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a legacy. I think that's a great idea in proportion to reality. But I think there's a lot of rumors flying about Israel and how much Israel controls America. But I'll tell you, I think what I'm seeing, and this is all my opinion just watching, Benjamin Netanyahu wants to do this largely himself. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. I was just told that our History channel and our Bible Prophecy channel has been running in the background on the computer side that the public can't see. They've been letting it run for 24 hours, testing it, making sure it stays up and no glitches. So, Lord willing, we will. I know I've been telling you guys, but I want you to be excited about it. Things always take longer. The one thing I've learned when it comes to computers and IT guys, things always take longer than they say. But that's okay. You know, that it's a lot of complex coding, a lot of systems trying to talk to each other and work. And you want to do it right. Last thing I want is have a stream go up and it goes up and down all the time and irritates everybody. That's not professional. So we're very excited about the new History Channel. I'm going to be doing the voiceover. My voice is getting better. Are you guys praying for my voice? I don't ever remember struggling this much, this long with my voice, and it's very irritating to me. I mean, it's very, very irritating. I don't know how poor Robert F. Kennedy Jr. does it every day. That would become to not have a strong voice when you're a public speaker or a broadcaster. It's like being a carpenter with a broken hammer or a bent hammer. It's just not a good idea. But I did, thanks to my friend Lucy out of Jackson, Tennessee. I got some all natural spray that I guess a lot of vocal people, opera singers, different people use. So I've been on it not even 24 hours. We'll see if it helps. But the allergies, the drainage, it's just nonstop. And then I think I had the COVID for like the fourth time, and it just drags on and on. Then I thought I was feeling better, and then I felt like I fell into relapse. Like all I want to do is go to bed. So I'm not complaining because some of you guys got far worse health problems than I do. Mine are minor, really. But keep praying that this voice will get better because it's so irritating. And there's so much programming to do. But if my voice will hold up, I hope to be doing the voiceover real soon for our next documentary on the home of Robert E. Lee. Very interesting historical figure, Robert E. Lee. And our filming at the Arlington House in Arlington, Virginia, at the Arlington National Cemetery. So the Bible Prophecy and the History Channel should be going live soon. Been running in the background, being tested. All right, let's go to our reporter on the ground in Israel, see what he thinks of my monologue and speculation, my theories that I'm working with. Aaron, welcome. Oh, boy, my friend, last night, about 11 o'clock, my red alert Central Time starts going off over and over and over and over and over. And that's when I checked what was going on, saw that hospital had been hit with cluster bombs, and then text you, are you okay? And you said coming up out of the bunker. Tell me about last night before we get into my monologue.
Yeah, hi, Brennan. Yeah, it's really hard that when you're in a deep sleep and you get woken up with that shock, and yeah, you don't know, it's like Russian roulette, you don't know what to do, and you're half dazed. So you by now we know the procedure. We make our way to the bomb shelter, and when you hear explosions, you know that those missiles came in the range of where you live. But then sometimes you get a message to say all clear, and so you just go out and business as usual. But everyone, I mean, it's in some ways you meet new people, you hear their stories, you're in it together. There's a camaraderie. We realize we're one big family here. But then when you hear the report that Sokorov Hospital was smashed, that was terrible news. But there is a miraculous news that the ward that was struck and annihilated just yesterday, they decided it was too vulnerable to stay there. So they cleared out that ward and they moved somewhere else. And no one was seriously injured in that ward, although it was completely damaged. But yeah, hundreds of people in Israel today, in Beersheba, at the hospital area, in Holon, in Tel Aviv. We're talking in the hundreds. A small number are in critical condition. Some are in serious condition. Some are in moderate to light condition. Yeah, this is war. These are casualties of war. But as you said before, Bibi Netanyahu, he is really stepping up with our defense minister, Israel Katz. Israel Katz, if we remember, probably about 6 months ago, he took over from Yoav Gallant, who basically was fired or stepped down. And he's of the old guard, no nonsense. He's been around for decades in the government, and he knows his stuff. Along with our new chief of staff, Ayal Zamir, they're doing a fantastic job, Brandon. The boys, all of the soldiers, the pilots, female pilots as well. And they're bombing to pieces not only Iran, but Gaza Strip as well. And then just a comment on Donald Trump's statement a short time ago. It needs to be noted that he didn't say he's going to make a decision in 2 weeks. He did say within 2 weeks. Now,
in fact, let me go to the press secretary. Here it is. Here she is, Caroline Leavitt, just literally just a few minutes ago from the White House press room.
Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president.
Within the next 2 weeks. But again, here we are thinking that there's some negotiation. See, to me, this is just so silly. So silly. I'm sorry. Why would we even think that we need to negotiate with Iran? This regime seems done. Unless your country is leading us to believe that you are not being as successful as you have been, that you're only pushing out good PR information and you're not telling us the bad, which I'm not sure that's the case. I mean, you're eliminating these people. I think your people are, telling us the truth. You're eliminating all these characters. Here's the other issue. There are those out there, I think some former military guys, saying that your Iron Dome is like a sieve, that it really isn't working as well as we're being told. Someone asked me about it before I went on the air. I said, well, let's ask Aaron. Now, I know what you're probably hearing in the press over there, but you have contacts in the IDF as well. So straighten this out. Because there are some people in the press over here, in the conservative alternative media over here, that are not, as big on the Israeli state as maybe I am, that are downplaying Israel's victory and success here, and saying that Israel is not doing nearly as well as they're telling us, that they're almost out of what they need for the Iron Dome, and a lot more is getting through. So tell us, what is the truth? What is the rate of success that you have been told with the Iron Dome?
Well, I mean, firstly, these people that are saying that we're not succeeding in this war, I mean, what news have they been following, Brendan? Come on. We're going to look back at this war, in my opinion, as a greater success than the 6-Day War. Look what we have done within a week. And to say that we're not being successful, listen, as far as the Iron Dome goes, I'm definitely not an expert on it, but let me say, number one, we have been fighting a war for over 18 months. Do you know how many Iron Dome missiles we've had to fire? Each missile costs between $50,000 and $80,000, number one. Number two, the Iranians, not like Hamas, the Iranians, they now are shooting at us not surface-to-air missiles. They're firing ballistic missiles. Ballistic missiles fire at 14,000 kilometers per hour. They are very, very difficult to take out. So yes, our success rate is not as high as we would like, no question about it. And for that reason, we have other air defense missiles like the David Sling and the Arrow 1 and the Arrow 2 missile, for sure. No, it's not 100% successful. We're learning that, we're seeing that. War is also about learning. What we have learned in this war, incredible. But the big picture is we are winning hands down. And as I say, if you look.
So let me ask you this: what have you had come in? 400 missiles?
Oh, at least 400.
Okay, and of that 400, it's being reported in the research I did that 20 have gotten through. Is that accurate?
I don't recall the statistics, to be honest. But if that's 20, that's Really, that's a very high success.
That's exactly right. So what I'm trying to say, just so you know, and so our audience knows, here in the U.S., we have some of these people that are in the MAGA movement that are not Christian Zionists or Zionists, right? And so they are all trying to blame Israel, that Israel's going to get us in a Middle Eastern war, and Israel's setting up Donald Trump. Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I'm just telling you what's out there so that we can knock it down and present the truth to our audience, because that's what we're about, truth, right? So
Amen.
Those who are saying that the dome is leaking like a sieve, I'm like, I don't see that, but I'll ask Aaron about it because I'm not over there. He is. And my research, again, shows 400 missiles at least, with 20 getting through. Now,
so my math is that's a 95% success rate.
That's pretty good. Yeah, and you're trying to knock down hypersonic missiles now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we've dealt with that. Now, you've taken out most of their leaders, and you guys, after this hospital was bombed, who was it that came out today and said that the Khomeini, his days are numbered? Who was your leader? Was that Benjamin himself or one of your other guys?
I think it was one of our members of our government. I forgot his name.
Said that Khomeini's days are numbered, right?
Brandon, the handwriting is clearly on the wall. Any day. In fact, there was a poll today asking the public, was he going to get killed today? Was it going to be tomorrow? Was it going to be on Shabbat? And was the answer no? And I think 35% said today, 17% said tomorrow, 23% on the Sabbath. He's going.
Okay. So why do we have the White House saying within the next 2 weeks we'll decide what we're going to do on Iran when it comes to negotiations?
I'll tell you why.
Negotiations are off the table.
No, I'll tell you why I think, Brandon. I think if you go back to before this war with Iran, this last week, remember what was going on before Israel struck. There was all kinds of talk. Bibi was saying this. Donald was saying that. Donald was going to go on holiday. Bibi was going to go on holiday. I think they're throwing flares. They're throwing smoke. They're doing a shadow war. I think this is all part of the psychological trying to throw them off. I think the Iranians should have woken up by now, although they've got new leaders now, the Iranians. I don't know how seasoned these leaders are. Is this over Tel Aviv or Holon or Beersheba? Not sure.
Where is that footage you're showing, Logan? It was B-roll of war. I asked Grok, what is the success of your Iron Dome? I'll tell you what Grok just searched and told me when I come back. And by the way, you're pretty good at your math, just so you know. Let me give you a hint. We'll be right back. We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com. Welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio website, worldviewradio.com. Don't forget about our national conference, our 22nd annual National Worldview Weekend coming up Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. I think we'll have plenty of worldview issues to talk about, folks. There are only seats for 350 people in this beautiful theater in Collierville, Tennessee. Full details at worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. All right, so I asked Grok, what has been the success rate of the Iron Dome for 2025? It searched the internet, and said the Iron Dome success rate in 2025 is reported to be between 80% and 97%, depending on the context and the source. In June 2025, Operation True Promise 3, the Iron Dome faced a significant challenge with a barrage of 150 to 200 ballistic missiles. Despite being designed primarily for short-range threats, it intercepted 20 to 30% of those ballistic missiles, contributing to an overall multi-layered defense success of 80 to 90% when combined with systems like Arrow and David Sling. Some sources note that the system's performance against ballistic missiles, which are faster and follow different trajectories, highlights its adaptability, but also its limitations, as it was not primarily designed for such threats. Critics and some analysts citing breaches in urban areas like Tel Aviv suggest the success rate may be lower in specific scenarios, with outlier claims estimating it as low as 5 to 10% based on controversial methodologies. However, most sources, including the Israeli Defense Forces and defense analysts, maintain 90% plus success rate for its intended purpose against rockets. No system is considered 100% effective, and vulnerabilities to saturation tactics or advanced missiles persist. So there you go. So don't buy this idea that Israel is just losing, you're being lied to. And how about, here's another one. A third of Tel Aviv has been destroyed. True or false, Aaron?
A third? Come on.
I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of disinformation on the right against Israel. And we're just knocking it down with our guy on the ground. There you go, Aaron. So that's a joke, right?
Brandon, it's not even a joke. It's pathetic. It's sick thinking to make whatever journalist wrote that should be fired. Seriously.
Well, it's different former military guys who are kind of hostile to Israel. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I've seen them on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I know exactly the kind you're talking about. When I listen to them, I'm thinking, what news are they looking at? It's terrible. But can I just make a comment on Donald Trump? Will he, won't he? When will he, when won't he? I was listening to an ex-Mossad chief today, and he was being interviewed in English about this whole issue. And, one statement he said, when, if you're going to shoot, you don't muck around, you shoot. And so going back, this relationship with him and Bibi, I think these guys, they have to me, it's like a wrestling match, a tag team. And I think what amazes me is with Trump's ego, Brannon, he's quite happy actually to let Bibi do the wrestling at the moment, which is kind of remarkable. We all know he has an ego.
Yeah, but what if it's not that? What if it's Bibi has told him, Mr. President, we appreciate all your help, we appreciate the resupplies, that's great, but we're going to take care of this. We're going to be the ones leading this war.
No, Bibi.
You think Bibi is going to take direction from Donald Trump?
I'm not saying. Yeah, I would. I would say that.
You would.
But I would. But I don't think Trump is playing that role right now. I think Trump. It's like I'm giving that analogy. He's standing outside the ring. He's cheering Bibi on, and he's watching Bibi do the job, and he's saying, "I'm here when you get tired. I'm here if you need me." And I think his movement and his talk. I think it's not so much at this stage. There's a need for a military help. I think the weapons, the bombs, yes, we need that. But I think, and I wrote a text to you the other day about this, I think Trump, in a masterclass move, I think he's seeing that there is a vacuum being created in the Middle East. There was a vacuum in Syria that Joe Biden didn't fill in. He's seeing a vacuum being created in Iran. He's concerned. And I'm not saying he should go into Iran, because that could be like Afghanistan or Iraq. It could be a disaster.
Oh, yes. I can tell you that.
Right. But there's the bigger picture at stake here. We know from the Obama and from the Biden administration that America, their their muscle in the Middle East got pushed out by countries like China and Russia. I think Trump, he wants to be the muscle man back in the Middle East. And I'm sensing that his maneuvers and his moves are making a statement. Putin can't do it. Putin is busy with his war in
But
Ukraine.
Putin is helping, Putin is supplying Iran.
Yeah, he is, but that's, to me, that's indirectly. If it was a Putin without a war with Ukraine, I guarantee Putin would be moving in. I'm still waiting for Turkey to make a move, and it's surprising me that they haven't, and that's maybe because they don't want to get in confrontation with the United States. But that's my gut feeling on this, that Trump, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's waiting, and I think him and Bibi are playing tag partners together. At least I hope so. But I don't think that their relationship. I think we would know if there was tension between them. I don't sense any tension there at all.
Let's open the phone lines. What does our audience think? What does our audience think on these issues? 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. 1-800-347-9829. Does anyone have the worldview report for tonight yet? Yeah, here it is. I actually have it. 1-800-347-9829. Because I'm reporting on this tonight with Turkey. On Wednesday, Turkish President Erdogan made it clear whose side he is on in this Israel-Iran war. And of course, it's not Israel. We would know that. He announced on Wednesday that his country's defense industry would become fully independent, producing its own warplanes, tanks, drones, and frigates, all in an effort to build up a deterrent to Israel. And according to what he said to the parliamentary group that was meeting of his AKP party, quote, we will further increase our domestic and national production rate, which we have raised from 20% to 80%. We will continue with patience, determination, perseverance, and firm steps until we achieve our goal of full independence in the defense industry, end quote. So he went on to say, we will raise our deterrence to such a level that not only will no one attack us, but no one will even dare to think about it, end quote. And then he added that they have completed a number of national defense projects, including air defense systems, warships, cruise missiles, armed drones, and helicopters. And he described Israel's assault on Iran, quote, as, quote, state terrorism, end quote. So there you go. So now we're all watching to see what Turkey's going to do. Right, Aaron?
Definitely. And I talked before about a vacuum. And when I was referring to Trump, I was talking more of a political vacuum or military vacuum. With Erdogan, I see it more as a spiritual vacuum he's looking for. He wants to reclaim the caliphate, the Ottoman Empire. He wants to revive that. And I think he probably wants to be the leader of the pack, the Muslim world. And he's waiting. He also is waiting for his time. Hey, I don't know about his health. I don't know if he's going to be around for so long. He actually said the next election he's not going to run, which is still another, I think, 2 or 3 years.
Let's go to the phone lines real quick. We've got Zoe, line 1. Zoe in Illinois. Hi, Zoe.
Hi, Brandon. I know you follow Gordon Chang totally, and
Yep.
He's talking about the fact that Iran sells, I believe, 90% of their oil to China. And I think Trump might be hoping to put a big crimp in China's aspirations by cutting off this oil. And I also, I do think that Trump knows that he and Bibi have got sort of there's a lot of role-playing going on. And I don't think any of this is a surprise to either one of them. I think they have this planned out, and they're playing part. A lot of this is playing parts, like when Trump's talking about, you don't know who he might be planning to negotiate with. He may be planning to negotiate with the Pahlavi later on. You don't know when he's talking about the government of Iran. We don't know what he's really thinking.
Well,
So
that's true. That is a very good point, Zoe. We don't know when he says we're going to negotiate with Iran. He really hasn't said the mullahs, Aaron. So to her point is maybe he's thinking we're going to negotiate with a whole different group of people.
Hey, Saudi Arabia, the Abraham Peace Accords. There's a chain of nations waiting and standing in line to sign up.
Let's go to Joe in Arizona. Joseph, line 2. Hi, Joseph.
Hi. I've heard that they need to drop the bunker bomb where the nuclear reactor is, and Israel doesn't have that. But the reason they're holding back, and the reason they've been holding back all along, is because they're concerned that Iran has sleeper cells in the United States with suitcase nukes, and that they're concerned that if you cross a certain line, they will set them off.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Marjorie Taylor Greene is tweeting about the domestic terrorism that could happen. David Pine is warning about that. The late Dr. Peter Vincent Pry was warning about the EMP satellites of Iran or North Korea. And of course, North Korea is coming out and making more statements about backing Iran. So I think, Joseph, you bring up a very good point. We don't know if there is any threats being made that we're not being informed about. I don't know if you know this, Aaron, but what is reported, and often called the Doomsday plane, it's really a U.S. Air Force E-4B. It has landed. I think it was in Louisiana. I think it sits in Nebraska a lot of the time, but went from Louisiana on Tuesday night to Edwards Air Force Base. Now, it does run routine drills and whatnot, so this could have been a pre-scheduled drill, but it did run a really weird pattern I'll show tonight on the Worldview Report. But the Doomsday plane, according to several news outlets, landed at Andrews Air Force Base. Are you aware of our Doomsday plane that's used by the president or top government officials?
Yes, I've read a little bit about it. Not a lot, but I'm aware of it.
Mm-hmm. So again, I don't know again, it goes to the issue of the caller, Joseph. What threats are they aware of, but not talking about? Let's go to, that was Joseph in Arizona. We'll come back, we'll go to Chris in Arizona. That's a big blowtorch station in Arizona that VCY America has. I think that's a 50,000 watt or 100,000 watts. It's a big station. Then we're gonna go to Sandy in Tennessee, and you can get on board. 1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829. I hope BB and President Trump have a good relationship with each other, but let's not forget that BB came out immediately and congratulated Biden on his so-called victory, and that did not make Trump too happy. We'll be right back.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house, very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, I know you and Brandon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com. All right, welcome back. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Let's go back to the phone calls. Let's go next to Sandy. No, this is Chris, line 3. Chris in Arizona. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Brandon and Aaron. Pleasure to speak with you both.
Thank you.
I kind of just wanted to give a different look. I think that Bibi and Trump have a better relationship than what people believe. And I think the reason why Trump is telling everybody within the next 2 weeks is that he knows something that's going to take place that may end up resolving this whole issue prior to that. And instead of putting himself in a situation with us and the rest of the world, letting Bibi take care of things on his own, and he can step back and say, "See, I told you so." That's the way I'm looking at it. But I also do believe or agree a lot with what Joseph was saying earlier about the bombs and the sleeper cells here in the U.S.
Yeah, I'm glad you do. I'm glad you agree, because I think it's very, very problematic. Kurt Weldon, if guys will go back and research what Kurt Weldon and Congressman Dan Burton were warning about, and then my recent interview with Congressman Kurt Weldon, I'm just telling you what I hear from people is that they have a professional relationship, but on a personal level, there is a very strained personal relationship between Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump. And I'll tell you something, it will come out. Okay, you wait, and it's going to come out. If President Trump loses the midterms drastically, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, you will see people jumping off the ship, and that's when they start giving interviews and writing books. But after this presidency is over, books will be written, and we'll be able to say, hey, remember on June 19th, 2025, when we were talking about a possibly strained not professional, but personal relationship? Well, here is the reality of what was really going on. But I have analysis that says there is a professional working relationship, but the personal one has been drastically strained, particularly since Benjamin Netanyahu came out and congratulated Biden so quickly while President Trump was still disputing the results of the election. But let's hope it doesn't impact their professional working relationship. I would like to see Netanyahu finish it up on his own. I mean, what's the polls in your country show? Doesn't your country want the national pride of doing this themselves and setting the standard in the region? Don't mess with Israel, or we had to go and get help from America. Like you're weak? I would think that the Israeli pride will say, we want to do this on our own.
Brandon, just this afternoon, the polls, 82% think that Bibi is doing a great job. 82%.
But is anyone polling the Israelis on should Israel go it alone?
I think actually that poll includes that. Maybe not directly, but I think it's the big picture.
Because, they're saying now that President Trump's spending a lot of time questioning whether these bunker busting bombs can do it. And I don't know if that's, again, a ploy. Oh, I don't think our buster bombs can do it. Or and that's going to be the excuse if we don't do something, and maybe we will. But if we don't, maybe that would be the excuse they use for a while. When the reality is Netanyahu is saying, no, we're going to do it because we're getting reports that your people are leaking out into the press that you guys can take care of it on your own, even if it means humans doing it on the ground. So you got the air, you got the skies, you drop some guys in, you plant the explosives, you get out, you detonate, and Israel takes care of it all by themselves.
Brandon, I don't see any ego in this. I don't see any from Bibi, and I don't see any from Trump.
Okay, come on. You're talking about two of the most arrogant men on the planet.
Well, Brandon, but this is war. This is war. This is different.
Yes, but this is...
Bibi, he's got the weight of the nation on his shoulders.
But that's not the point. The point is your overall legacy as a country. Does your prime minister, does your defense minister, and do your people want to set the stage on the world stage, but particularly in the Middle East? Israel did this.
I don't think that, of course, I don't think that's the number one priority here. The number one priority is to get rid of this imminent threat of a potential.
I agree. That's the number
Iran.
one. But you've got to
Right.
think about your peace through strength. You've got to be thinking about long term, setting the reputation of being a very tough nation in a very rough neighborhood, particularly from a Bible prophecy standpoint.
Right.
I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Why do they need a coalition of nations, right? And I'm thinking prophetically, it makes sense they need a coalition because Israel has exhibited themselves to be very, very strong
Absolutely,
and capable
Brennan.
on their own.
But the other area where I see Bibi and Trump holding hands, walking down the what do you call it when you get married?
Oh, the aisle, walking down the aisle.
Walking down the aisle together is that they both have the dollar sign in front of them.
Yeah, well, that might be true for both of them.
And I see that they both see so much potential. I keep on going to there's Saudi Arabia waiting in the wings.
Which really all this goes back to ego then. If that's what they're thinking dollars, and it's going back to ego. Let's go to Sandy.
But what does it mean to make America great again? In Trump's eyes, that I think economically, natural resources, gas, oil, all of that.
Let me try to squeeze in Sandy real quick. Sandy, line 1 in Tennessee. Go ahead, Sandy.
Hey, I just wanted to chime in real quick. I agree with Aaron 1,000%, and I love his analogy about the boxing ring. And I believe that Trump is, in fact, on the sideline letting Netanyahu get in his punches. And I think that what's driving them to do this is not the dollar signs. It's October 7th. And I believe that he said, you deserve to get this round in before anybody interferes. And I believe that he's possibly holding back the interference of China, Russia, and maybe even Turkey. Because, if you could imagine this happening under Biden, they would have had interference coming at them from every direction trying to pull off this campaign.
Yeah.
So that's just my point.
I don't disagree with any of that, Sandy. Although if it's about October 7th, then don't be telling Israel to pull back and don't kill the Khomeini. Let them loose. Let Israel finish the job. Take care. And we're back with WROS and Jacksonville, Florida. I think that's really the bottom line. The flip-flopping, the message, Israel needs to come to the table. We need negotiations. We need to work out a deal. We have a deal. We don't want to kill the Khomeini. That's just not consistent with what Israel is doing, where you're at now. The deal is done. There's no deal to be made unless it's with a new government. And you should kill the Khomeini. And I think your people today, after the hospital attack last night, he's the dead man walking, is he not?
Yeah.
Which is, again, means if you go back to all of Trump's tweets, everything he's saying is not what's now happening, which tells me let me tell you something. People have in their minds what they want to think, okay? People want to think that there's this dance going on between these two guys because it makes them sleep better at night. There's what we want, and then there's reality. And trust me, when the people start leaking and the people start writing books and telling what really happened, then we're going to really know. But you got two very strong guys that clearly have had some... Do you know what Trump reportedly said about Benjamin Netanyahu after he endorsed Biden and congratulated him, for winning? Do you know what Trump reportedly said?
I can't remember.
You can't repeat it on the air. So what I'm telling you is there's more to this story than the average American knows.
So you think you don't think Trump's forgiven him and let it go?
Do you really think Trump is a forgive and forget kind of guy? Come on. He is on video over and over talking about you revenge and how sweet revenge is and all the things he says. That doesn't mean he doesn't patch it up with people because, look, he's got Marco Rubio and all kinds of people around him that have said terrible things about him. So he does to a degree, but do I think that someone crosses a point at which time he doesn't? He's on record talking about that once someone stabs him in the back, once someone is not loyal, And that's human nature, I understand. I'm just saying people have these fairy tale ideas of how world leaders work together because it helps them sleep. And it also bolsters the image they have of political saviors. I'm just telling you, I think we're going to find out what the truth is. And I don't think the relationship is as warm between the two personally. And I think politically, they're working together. National security wise, they're working together. But I think there are some tensions. I really do. And I think that I don't know, maybe Benjamin Netanyahu will write a book when it's all said and done. But something tells me he, being the warrior that he is, doesn't want to get America overtly involved in this for many reasons, which I hope is the case for us as a nation, frankly. But he wants this success for your nation.
And you know what that dear lady who just came on and commented, I think she's right that there's, a big part of it probably is he's needing to avenge the blood of all those 1,200 plus another 500 soldiers that have died in the war. Yeah, I'm sure that's a big part of his motivation as well. And who knows, maybe Trump sees that as well. Trump's seen all the videos. He's seen all the footage. Maybe that's another reason why Trump is stepping back, saying, I want to save Bibi's political career. I know you don't want to hear that, Brandon. I know you see that there is something. And
well, I don't know if he wants to save his political career or not, but I don't think he's stepping back. When you keep saying we need to get to the table, we need to negotiate, don't kill the Khomeini, that's not stepping back. That's the point I'm making.
No, but that's the point I'm making in response to that is he's not doing anything. Even before we attacked Iran, he was talking, but he didn't do anything. And that's for that reason, the famous Tolstoy book, War and Peace. Mm-hmm. It's based on deception. When you want to make your enemies think that there's war when actually there's peace, and you want to make them think that there's peace when there's war. The Viet Cong in the Vietnam War, that's what they did. They used a Near Eastern philosophy to try and deceive your enemy.
Yeah, I know all that, but I'll tell you again, I keep coming back to Netanyahu walking out of the White House with that book in his hand. That to me was telling.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, if you and I were in those positions, I wouldn't stick my Art of the Deal book in your hand and walk you out to the SUV. I wouldn't put you in that position.
Yeah. Well, put it this way. When either Trump or Bibi writes the book and tells about all their personal issues, I want to buy it. I want to read it.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
And you and I can talk about it.
And we're gonna bring up this tape and play a few things and then say,
you can say, there you go, Aaron, I told you.
Just think about Donald Trump, his personality, Benjamin Netanyahu. And what do you think when a guy hands you his book, The Art of the Deal, and marches you out to the SUV? I mean, I'm thinking, when that happened that day, I thought, oh no, right? All right.
But you know what, Brennan? But when Bibi congratulated Biden,
I think we just got cut off by the computer.
You are watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service